I really wanted to raise awareness about long COVID and particularly POTS, and that even if you have a moderate case of COVID, that it can still, and being vaccinated, it can still really devastate your life. And to be that doctors would be aware of what POTS is and the things that you can do to help, that it's not just salt and water, that there are medicines and other things you can do to help. I got COVID on the 22nd of February this year and just didn't really recover, and I saw my GP in March, and she got bloods done and gave me amitriptyline because I had some nerve pain and migraines, constant migraines, and also she gave me some ondansetron because I had nausea, and then she was going to a long COVID seminar for doctors in end of March, and then she saw me again in April, and she then knew to find out if I had glandular fever or if there was anything else going on, and also to test for POTS, which she did, and the bloods came back showing my past glandular fever condition and that I had POTS, and she referred me to the hospital and the general medicine department, and then I had a situation where we rang her and I was losing sight in one eye, and she said just get up to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, and that was a terrible experience. The doctors didn't really know what they were talking about, and they weren't listening to me, and basically I realised that it wasn't going to help to get referred to the hospital, so I researched online for a POTS specialist, and then went to a cardiologist who specialises in POTS, and that was in May. So that was only 7 weeks after I had had COVID that I was seeing someone, which was pretty amazing, and I know not everybody's experiences are the same. She did. She said in the very first appointment, she said it looks like you've got long COVID, and then she diagnosed me in the second visit, and it was all confirmed by the cardiologist. I'm going to have to look at my notes because there's so many and I can't remember them, like 2 pages worth. So I have chronic fatigue, is really major, and brain fog, which is difficulty processing lots of information and thinking, basically. Memory loss, and I have difficulty translating my thoughts into speech, and I just can't find the words, and it really feels like I have some sort of brain injury. And weak muscles, twitching, dizziness, buzzy limbs, shortness of breath, sore eyes, noise and light sensitivity, a sore back, frozen shoulder, which I'm not sure if that was related to long COVID or I happened to get it in the meantime. Joint pain, nerve pain, earache, vision difficulties, voice dysphonia, which is a croaky, weak voice, chesty cough, itchy hands and feet, hive-like rashes and rashes on my face. And then there's my POTS symptoms, which I just can't handle the impact of gravity. My body can't, and so I get blood pooling in my abdomen and legs and feet and hands. A raised heart rate on standing and elevated on sitting, blood pressure issues, both going high and low. Woozy, lightheaded and unsteady on my feet, a sore chest, an instant headache on standing, heavy legs on standing, and a bee sting-like pain in my lower legs and ankles on standing. A panic when I'm standing after maybe about 30 seconds without meds, which then is caused by adrenaline just pumping through my system, trying to get my heart to get my blood back up into my brain, and lack of oxygen in the brain. So I then suffer from anxiety, which I've never ever had before, never had a problem. I used to be a lawyer and doing litigation and had absolutely no problem. So that's huge for me. Nausea, a breathing disorder, hyperventilating, sore stomach, difficulty sleeping, a general feeling of being unwell, pains, muscle atrophy, tinnitus in my ears, diarrhea and constipation, a buzzy chest. Every morning I wake up with a buzzy chest. I feel terrible on waking every day. Every single morning I feel absolutely terrible and I have to have help to sit up. Dehydrated, headaches and migraines, low blood volume, and I'm just not able to stand up for longer than a minute, even with medication. Gosh, it just makes me cry. Utter exhaustion, just utterly exhausted. And with meds, I've had a really good night's sleep, but I wake up exhausted, and throughout the day, the tiniest little thing will exhaust me, like just having my little granddaughter playing, which I absolutely love, beside me, and I just get exhausted that I have to have a sleep. Yeah, and going to a medical appointment is exhausting. So the tiniest thing is just, yeah, I can only explain it as utter exhaustion. Yeah. I used to and not be able to get a good night's sleep at all, but my GP put me on amitriptyline, which my cardiologist is happy for me to keep continuing on, and then she's just recently put me on magnesium, which has really, really helped. So I feel like I am actually sleeping all night, which is really huge. The very first time that I experienced a breathing issue was when I had COVID, and I thought, oh, I'm well enough and I feel like I might have enough energy to have a shower after, being sick for a week or more. And so the health nurse that was ringing said, oh, shower will be good because it will help clear your nose. So I had a full-on shower and kept the steam going and was standing up, so it was really hot. And then I just couldn't breathe. I just couldn't get any air into my lungs. And so I sat down and I still couldn't breathe, and I called out for my husband. And then it was when I lay down, I was able to breathe, and I realise now that that was actually the first sign of POTS. So with what I learned through going to a breathing physio is that I was breathing through my chest because I was trying to get, my heart was beating so fast, and it's almost like you've run this really long race and you're really puffing almost really hard, and it was all through my chest, so there wasn't enough air and wasn't enough CO2, whatever it is, expelling or being retained, and because I had no oxygen in my brain, and it was all just causing all this whole issue. So then lying down resolves it, but I had to learn to breathe properly with my breathing physio, who's been absolutely amazing. I can't recommend a breathing physio enough. They've been incredible and helping to calm my system down so I can breathe through my nose and through my diaphragm, and even when I feel anxious, get into an anxious situation, that I can just calm my system down through breathing, other than obviously sitting down or lying down. Obviously just resting, that is the number one thing that will help, is resting. And so I actually spend a good portion of the day in bed, and it used to be all day up until probably a couple of weeks ago, where I felt enough energy to come and sit on the couch. For POTS, in particular, I have compression wear that I wear that compresses and constricts my blood vessels. I have medication to help constrict the blood, to slow my heart rate down, and to retain sodium, and have extra salt and water. By extra, like 6 to 10 grams of salt and 3 litres of water at least a day. I have the breathing, and also my breathing physio has introduced me to the CHOPS protocol, which is from the Philadelphia Children's Hospital for the treatment of POTS. It's a slow exercise program, which is incredible. So it's getting my body moving but not over exhausting me, and I do it at my own pace. So if I'm not, if I'm having a bad day, then I don't do it. I also have a recumbent hand and foot cycle. That means that I can, because your heart, my brain fog, heart can go into atrophy as well. So my cardiologist recommended that. Take vitamin D3 because I'm not outside, and vitamin C. I have a wheelchair if I need to go out anywhere, and a mobility pass, which I got my doctor to sign off on. A wheat bag is on my chest is really good for anxiety, a cold wheat bag, and for my migraines, and on my head, and a hot wheat bag for joint pain and muscle pain. I also have some apps that I use on my phone, and for breathing, help me to breathe and to remember to take my meds, because I have so many meds to take, and I have a med pill box so I remember what to do. And basically I've stopped necessarily thinking of long COVID and have focused on my POTS, because that's the one thing that I can actually manage, whereas there's nothing they can necessarily do, and a lot of the symptoms cross over. I belong to a Facebook support group, a New Zealand Facebook support group, which is absolutely amazing, because then I feel other people who understand. And then I recently joined the MECFS Society as well. Getting people to visit me if they ask what they can do is actually the most wonderful thing, is having someone visit rather than necessarily doing something, because it's really lonely. So that's really nice. And it really, I've started doing posts on Instagram and Facebook about managing POTS, and it's really helped people understand it, and people from overseas have contacted me, and even my own friends have then researched POTS and understood what it is, and have come to visit me, and I really appreciate that's huge. Contacting my husband rather than me, because I just can't handle conversations on the phone, and particularly that my voice is so much better now than it was, because of the breathing physios helped to strengthen the muscles in my neck, and my voice has got a lot better. My faith, just really trusting in the love of God and the people that He brings, and yeah, learning these are a lot of strategies. Learning to say no, and that I need to rest, and that if I'm tired, like learning what my body's cues are, and mine is, if I have a headache, it means I need to stop right now. At Tracey Thorpe, I've made it into a light-hearted superhero story where my heart is my superhero, and it's actually really trying to protect my body, and so it does all these things. And no, it's my brain, sorry, my brain is my superhero and it sends messages throughout my body to try and fix things in my body, and it can't, and it needs sidekicks to help and support it, and people have said that they really appreciate how it's easy to understand and it's more light-hearted. Yeah. There are a lot of hard things. Just not being able to stand up. I'm disabled now, and I can't stand up for longer than a minute, and I have lots of meds on board, and that's really, really hard. I've had to really grieve, and I've come to a place of acceptance, and spent so many hours just crying. And every time I would talk about it, even like I am now, I'd just be crying. And I think another hard thing was being in the hospital, and the doctors really didn't know what they were talking about. And they gave me advice that was the complete opposite of what I should have been doing, like taking ibuprofen. That one doctor said that it was causing my migraines when I knew that it wasn't. I was taking it properly, And my cardiologist later actually said to me, I want you to take it because it's really good for your blood pressure levels. And another doctor said, your sodium levels are fine, you shouldn't be taking extra salt, when I knew that absolutely I should for POTS. And another doctor said, oh, you should start walking, just walk up the road. And again, I knew that post-exertional malaise is a really bad thing for long COVID, and there's no way I would even have been able to walk up the road with POTS. And then they gave us the discharge, and oh no, that's right, she also said to me, oh, I was feeling extremely anxious through the whole process, and I'd stay there overnight with all the noise and the lights and everything. And she said, oh, do you need to see a counsellor? And I was just so frustrated with them not actually listening to me. And it was like, no, I don't, I just need you to listen to me. And then we were getting discharged, and on the discharge form it said that I had gone in for headaches, which I hadn't. I had gone in because I was losing my sight. And then we had to get that changed 3 times before they actually got what I was in there for, and they had lost notes, and it was just so incredibly stressful. And it took me at least a couple of weeks to recover from that whole experience. Other things that have been hard. The anxiety has really been super hard because it's not something that I have ever experienced before, and it just gives me such a sore chest, and even driving in the car is extremely hard. Everything is heightened. I feel that something, or my brain is trying to protect me and is telling me that things that aren't dangerous are really dangerous, and just feeling every tiny little thing has been really, really hard, and that's probably more exhausting than physical things like just even walking around. So it's taken a while just to get used to that and to learn what will manage that. Another one is having trial and error with treatment. So I will take one tablet and it will cause a whole lot of other issues that I need to then take another tablet to try and counter, and then taking my blood pressure and checking my heart rate, and I'm seeing my cardiologist or speaking to her on the phone once a month, and she's been amazing. So it's just not knowing what's going to work for my body, and even then it doesn't work 100%, so that's hard. Spending 9 months in bed, although at the beginning, maybe 8 months, I haven't even noticed because I'm just too sick to even care, and people would say, oh, you must be so bored, and I'm just not. I'm just too sick. I just know that that's where I need to be, and I don't even feel like getting up out of bed. So particularly with POTS, you should, a low carb diet is best because the blood all comes into the digestive system to try and help digest, and I can't afford to have less blood circulating in my body. So I've gone on the keto diet, which I've also been advised by a friend who's a doctor that the ketones are really good to help to clean out old cells, And I've also found it has really helped my brain fog, and I've felt a little bit more alert than what I was before I went on it. And also intermittent fasting, which is really, for POTS you need to eat, but it's just that kind of 14-hour overnight not eating before 10:30ish, and it's really helped. Also for POTS, nothing that's going to impact hydration, so no alcohol, no caffeine, and really high salty foods. I think I've found this as one of the more positive things that's come out of this experience or this journey, is that my family have really come around me and have really been generously caring for me, and I was always the one that was doing for them and caring for them, and it's almost like maybe they didn't have room to show me how much they cared about me, even though they still did. But I felt really incredibly loved and supported and cared for by my family. And then my friends, people that I haven't seen for a while, have been in contact and have come and visited me and have brought me things, and someone who I wasn't even close to has become a really close friend, and so that's been an amazingly positive experience. I guess the only thing is, it's been surprising too. Some friends who I thought would haven't. But also in terms of work, that's been hard. So my business partner, Anna, has also got long COVID, and we got COVID at the same event. And so we haven't been able to work, and our business has, just had to go on hold, which has been, I won't say it's been difficult, because I've kind of been too sick to even care about it. So I guess that means I'm kind of in a privileged position of having a husband who does work really hard, and he's been amazing, and he's taken up all the jobs that I would normally do, and he doesn't normally cook, and he's learned to cook and care for me. And he, having POTS is probably even harder because I just can't stand up, and so he's just had to do everything, and it's just amazing. Cry again. I think that's my faith, that I know that there's a purpose in everything, and don't get me wrong, there are days when I am just like, I just am, surely not one more thing has come up, because I always have some other new symptom that comes up, and some new investigation that has to be carried out, and some pain that has to be dealt with. So I obviously question, but I do have a strong faith. And also looking at finding something positive, just even one thing, that kind of Pollyanna attitude of something that I can be glad about in the day. And I think that really does help. I think in terms of maybe what not to do, so asking a general question of how are you is really, really hard to answer, because it requires a huge answer with so many symptoms. And because my processing is so incredibly hard, it's just not there anymore. If you were to, like, my husband might tell me about a rugby move or a game or something, and I'm still trying to figure out move number 1, and he's already moved on to move number 5, and I'm lost. Or someone will send me information and I just can't process it. So it kind of needs to go through my husband, that processing of information. The other thing is cures, which I think if you have a chronic illness, that you know your body far better than anybody else, and you have researched everything because you have time to do that as well, and you have specialists who know what they're doing, or I have specialists who know what they're doing, and hearing cures is really unhelpful. It just feels like a really big burden on me. I didn't try hard enough, or everybody's body is different. What worked for one person is not necessarily going to work for me. And there are little tips that have been wonderful, like my sister said about putting the cold wheat bag on my chest, and that was absolutely wonderful, and it really does work for anxiety. But just general complex cures that somebody heard is not helpful. And I think exercise, if anybody is saying exercise, it is just not a good idea, other than doing something through someone who knows what they're doing, like I'm doing the CHOPS protocol, and that is really helping. But telling someone to go for a walk, or you should just, get your body moving, that'll make it better, it just doesn't. It makes you worse.